What is happening, my friends? Welcome to another great episode of the Arrington Gavin Show, your go-to spot for sharp insights, bold opinions, and unfiltered takes on the biggest stories of the day, whether it's politics, sports, pop culture, or the latest buzz. Look, as always, we're diving deep and keeping it real. So kick back, stay informed, and get ready to join the conversation. My friends, as always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day, just taking 1 hour of your time to tune into the Arrington Gavin Show each and every day. Man, I can't be more excited enough to chop it up with you all. Here we discuss, stuff that's trending. We bring on some great guests for great conversations like today, because I'm very excited. I have on Mr. John Sitka III. He's a veteran. He is a former congressional candidate. He's been involved in his local communities for quite some time, and just excited to get his take on things going on, locally as well as in the state of Virginia. Again, I've always enjoyed having conversation with folks on, for one, what's the reason? What was your reason to run? Right? I know that's a huge leap of faith and a huge risk that a lot of folks say, wait a minute, you want to, be involved in politics? Look, folks have told me many a times, Arrington, why don't you decide to ever run? I'm like, I will run away from it, but I am fascinated when it comes to politics, though, because for one, y'all, as much as the worldview, people will say, oh, I dislike it, I don't want to watch the news, I don't want to watch this and that. Look, it's always great to be informed, and I enjoy it. I watch the news that I agree with, I watch the news that I don't agree with. I just love for one, and I'm just fascinated, but it's important to be informed. A lot of you all are not informed what happens in your own backyard. Everybody knows what happens on a national level, right? We all can know what's going on in, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, the national mainstream news, but you really don't know a lot what's going on in your local community. So as always, you try to be that bridge to help guide you to knowing, hey, who serves on your school board, who serves on your local city council. We try to do that and have fun doing it as well. In addition to that, I bring on, I'm fortunate to have friends from all sides of the aisle, whether they're conservative, liberal, progressive, you name it. Hey, look, everybody is always welcome here to the Arrington Gavin Show. I've mentioned many a times on this program, y'all, we are growing each and every day. I believe I see like 2 or 3 new subscribers on our YouTube channel regularly now, which is awesome. We want to keep that momentum going. Other ways you can follow us, you can tune into the program. I've mentioned through YouTube, also through our Rumble channel. You can also watch us on the GOATverse TV app. Yes, I'm excited. We have joined the GOATverse TV network. It's free. It's a free app if you go on your App Store or your Google Play Store. If you happen to be an Android user, you can also download it on Roku as well as Amazon Fire. Now, if you prefer to listen to us, you can do so by listening to us wherever you get your podcast. You can download the iHeartRadio app right now and listen to us through there. Where else? Oh, also on the radio airwaves out in the Metro Atlanta area, WDJY 99.1 FM Straight Talk. That's right. So if you prefer to listen to us out there, you can check us out Monday through Fridays at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think that is about all we have. Oh, I need to go on. You can follow us on our social media platforms at Instagram at the Arrington Gavin Show, or Blue Sky, X, or you can also check us out on Substack. Substack is kind of the platform where if I don't have time to share it here on the program, well, look, I go finger happy, right? I type it out, and it's interesting. It's interesting. I just love to. I call it like my open diary, stuff that if I read certain articles, like let's talk about sports for a quick second. I talked about Deion Sanders' son, Shedeur Sanders, right? One coach had called him arrogant, brash. I shared my thoughts on Substack, and I'm like, hold up, let's talk about it. With the shift in liberal media, in liberal network, right? Cable television, right? I spoke about that as well. So it's a platform where we can talk a little bit about everything on. And I believe that is all. I always try to make sure I go from X, Y, and Z when it comes to, okay, did I leave anything out? Okay, I didn't. So perfect. I did not leave anything out. But before I move forward, I do have to shout out some of our proud supporters of the Arrington Gavin Show, like our friends over at the Dapper Luke Collection. Let me go ahead and shout them out. Look, attention, gentlemen, it's time to elevate your wardrobe at the Dapper Luke Collection. They believe style isn't just about clothes, it's about making a statement. From tailored suits that fit like a dream to casual essentials that define effortless sophistication, Dapper Luke has it all. Weddings, interviews, or night on the town, they've got you covered. So do me a favor, go ahead and you can visit them on their website, Dapper Luke Collection, right now, or you can visit him at his two store locations, one located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, off of Holland Road, or you can go to his location out in Baltimore, Maryland. Follow him on social media at the Dapper Luke Collection. He's a dear friend of mine. He created my wedding suit. He's created multiple pieces prior to my wedding. It's a veteran-owned business. And also, he is just, I'm telling you, he keeps you looking sharp from head to toe for men and for women. Because as a business owner, as somebody that's involved in media, I attend a lot of functions and networking events. And I always want to make sure I have some good threads. Sometimes I don't always want to dress, formal. But just a nice button up, maybe a nice sports coat, just something casual. He has it all. And I highly recommend you check that out, y'all, especially for those entrepreneurs and business owners that are listeners here on the program, because when it comes to your appearance, that's all a part of your brand. All right. If your brand is trash, guess what? Most likely people are not going to be interested in even wanting to hear what you have to say. I'm telling you, the people pay attention. People are visual first, right? Even when it comes to voting. Right? We're visual first. We're going to catch, first I'm going to realize, this person is all right, quite young, or this person is a little old. We're very visual, judgmental folks here in the United States. All right. So we want to make sure that you are looking sharp. So yeah, again, do me a favor and check out Dapper Luke Collection. He's a dear friend, as I mentioned, and small business owner and veteran owned business. So we want to continue to support not just local, but support small business, support veteran business, support minority businesses. You want to just support. All right, my friends, look, what we're going to do before we head to a commercial break, because as I mentioned before, I do have a special guest that I'm excited to bring on, Mr. John Sitka III. Before we do that, let me go ahead and bring out our fun fact of the day, a tradition we love to do here on the program. Just a fun fact to keep you educated. I don't know. It's a good conversation starter, something good to have in your hip pocket. On today's fun fact, did you know that a shrimp's heart is in its head? Did you know that? Did you know? You probably didn't, because you worry about always eating it. I'm guilty because I eat a lot of shrimp. I love shrimp cocktail. Just anything, any kind of season, I'm addicted to it. But specifically, it's located near the brain and behind the head rather than in its chest. Now, again, for those who was very intrigued when it comes to, oceanography or ocean? No. Well, the ocean, sea creatures, all that good stuff. You probably was already familiar, but for those who didn't know, yes, their heart is located in their head. So that was your fun fact of the day. You're welcome. All right, my friends, look, let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm excited to have on my buddy, Mr. John Sitka III. We're going to have a great conversation, talk a little bit about everything, right? A little bit about everything. And hope you stay with us. So don't go anywhere. You are listening to the Arrington Gavin Show.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to.
And we still in traffic.
I don't look familiar, do I? Not in this seat.
Hey, what's that you listening to?
Here to host today.
Hey, turn it up.
With me?
Yeah, this that new Goat Verse app. I got you.
So y'all want to know where the goats are? They're off on the sidelines.
Looking for fresh, relevant content wherever you go?
What was the name of that he said?
Introducing GoatVerse TV.
GoatVerse, that's what it's called.
The free streaming app that brings you the best podcasts, current events, and thought-provoking opinions all in one place. Download it now from the Apple Store or Play Store. In Goats, we trust.
Become a man of distinction with Rugged Evolution Beard Care. Order our scented beard oils and beard balms to help you maintain and grow the perfect beard. Order today. Try our men's care products like the full body exfoliating cleansing bars, body wash, smooth stash, and more. Log on to our website or download our app to place your orders. Rugged Evolution Beard Care. We're your luxury but affordable men's care line. And remember,
rugged is the new smooth.
All right, my friends, welcome back. Welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. I am your host, your friend, Arrington Gavin. That is Arrington. Just in case anyone was curious, because I get so many times people will call me and they'll be like, "Is it Arlington?" I'm like, "Where is the L? Where is the L, people?" Arlington. I get Arrington, which I'm like, "Hey, close enough." Sometimes I get Gavin. They always say you have two first names. It's because it's Arrington Gavin. I've gotten Gavin Arrington literally since I was a kid. But still to this day, people will say Arlington. I'm just like, is it because I'm from Virginia? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it, y'all. But calm down, Arrington. We're not gonna do this. Okay. Oh, perfect. Back to normal, guys. Back to normal. I'm here. As I mentioned before, I'm excited to have on a buddy of mine, Mr. John Sitka III. He is a former congressional candidate. He recently ran for Virginia's 3rd congressional district, going against a long-standing congressman, Representative Bobby Scott. He's been very involved. Mr. Sitka has been involved for quite some years in his local community in Norfolk. And I'm just excited to get his take on a lot of stuff happening in the local city. He recently was on a very popular independent program called Rhoda Young Live, which she is up there when it comes to viewerships. I mean, alone on Facebook, I think she has well over close to 300,000 followers on there. She is an interesting individual. And so after seeing that, I'm like, well, I got to get in contact with this guy. So I'm excited that he had took some time out of his busy schedule to join me for a great conversation here on the program. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on John into the mix. John, how you doing, my friend?
Good evening, Arrington. How you been?
I've been doing great. I've survived Snowmageddon here in the local area. Even though the temperature is getting kind of chilly, I'm not gonna lie, it's getting a little nippy. But here in Hampton Roads, for a lot of the listeners that are not from here, we have that back and forth weather until it's like, okay, I'm gonna wear some rain boots, shorts, and like maybe a fur jacket up top. Yeah, I think I'm good for the weather.
Absolutely. You got to. It changes every time. You get up in the morning, it's cold, then in the afternoon it might warm up and you're like, oh, gotta take
it's a drag. But man, look, I'm so excited to be talking with you. For a lot of our listeners, man, can you give us just a little bit about you? Are you originally from the Hampton Roads area? What if you're not, what brought you here? Just give us a little backstory about you.
Sure. So actually, I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas. In 1974, when I joined the Navy, that's how I got to Hampton Roads, because I came to Hampton Roads from the west coast of the United States. To Hampton Roads, 1979.
Wow!
And my children grew up here. I've been in Hampton Roads ever since. To be honest, my kids went to the Norview schools, the elementary, the middle school, and the high school. And so I've been part of this community. And believe it or not, we're one of those families that anybody in the community walked around, and we maybe had a little pool in the back. Guess where they all came? We have that above ground pool. Or if we had snacks, like you're gonna always get the cheap cookies and the little, I don't know if y'all remember the old,
nothing wrong with the cheap cookies.
Let me tell you what. And the little mugs of look like little plastic barrels of Kool-Aid.
Yep.
Hand them out to the kids.
That is all, and that is definitely, like, I would say, for every kid's, like, culture wise, like, that's, you always had to have those little drinks. Never knew what the flavors were. With those flavors, we called them by its color. We're like, hey, give me the red, give me the purple, give me the blue. What are you drinking? I don't know, but it's good.
That's all you cared about. It was sweet, it tasted good, and it was cold. And I retired from the Navy in '94. Then I went to work in the maritime industry, merchant marine. Started off in the Gulf of Mexico for a couple of years, then came back here to Norfolk to work for a company that's downtown Norfolk called Maersk Lines Limited.
Okay.
and spent basically 10 years with them. So basically 30 years at sea.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
really want to get technical. And after that, I said, man, I barely saw my kids growing up. I need to be home. And I quit going to sea, and I started working at a school. It started off as Tidewater School of Navigation.
Hmm.
Um, they've been around since the 1980s, helping mariners get their credentials with the Coast Guard. I started with them in 2004, 2005. Uh, the school was about ready to die and close, but the owner said, "Look, if you'll help me rebuild it, I'll help you. You be a part of my business." And we did that. In fact, not only did we rebuild it, we built it to a large degree from where it started off less than 50,000 a year. It
Mm.
got renamed into Mid-Atlantic Maritime Academy, and by the time I left 10 years later, it was doing over 7 million here in Norfolk. We put a lot of people in our Hampton Roads area to work. We
Mm.
got them trained, educated, get them their credentials, got them out to sea. Let me tell you something. Anybody getting that maritime industry on ship? That's a very generous income. Here's the downside. It's hard to get young people into that
Mhm.
because they're not, when they're away, well, they're not home every night,
Mhm.
or, they got to have their internet. Well, folks, you're talking about the big bucks now, okay? You're going to have to give up a little. But you know what? We have tug companies like Vane Brothers,
Mhm.
Moran, McAllister. McAllister's a big local company. They're a tug company. Go check them out. Go make some money. If you want to be
Wow.
home every night, or at least have internet. After that, after 10 years, I went to help a college down in Texas,
Mhm.
San Jacinto College. They were a minority college there, and helped them build their maritime program for about 4 years. Took care of my mom before she passed away. Came back up here, worked a short stint at Newport News Shipbuilding, and then
Mhm.
I retired. And Paula was like, "John, you have a doctorate in education. You need to get out of the house, go do something." And I went, "Okay. Why don't you run for school board?" So in 2022,
Wow.
ran for school board in Ward 3.
Mhm.
Of course, that was a very tight race, really, between Carlos Clanton and Mark Askew, really.
Mhm.
I was new to it, so I didn't get that many votes. I got 10%.
Mhm.
And after that, the following year, I ran for the House of Delegates in the 93rd district, which is really the heart of Norfolk.
Mhm.
And I was running against Jackie Glass. And then, of course, you know the story. I ran against uh, this past year
Mhm.
with Bobby Scott. And that's about the extent. For the most part, I'm retired.
Wow. So a lot to impact in that, and I truly appreciate you giving us the backstory, because for one, I was gonna ask, being 30 years at sea, I take it, any cruise trips in the future? Do you enjoy? I'm just saying, I speak with a lot of retired Navy guys. They're like, no, I don't want to get back in the. I'm done with the war. I mean, it's just, but again, any cruise trips in the future?
Not at this time. It's not that I
Okay.
wouldn't be interested,
Hmm.
but no, nothing has come to mind. I do like traveling the United States when the opportunity presents itself.
Gotcha. And I have to, shout out your lovely wife, because she said, you need to get out the house. Yeah, I think you should run. Like, I mean, not just get out the house, maybe go across the street, go on a walk, visit like find a hobby. No, she's like, when you get out, hey, run for a local office. Do something like that. Like, that's just
Right, right. Well, she knows I can be very opinionated. Well, so can she, really. But the truth be known is, it's like, it was like you're a part of education. Why don't you do
Hmm.
school board? That should be your most logical part. Because I was vice president of academics for Mid Atlantic, and then I
Hmm.
was the director for maritime credentialing at San Jacinto College down in Pasadena, Texas.
Okay.
So it was like, go do something, and I'm okay with that.
So
It was
John, was
educational, to say the least.
yeah, so
Go
was
ahead.
education always like a secret, you know passion of yours to pursue, or was this like something that you just happened to say, okay, look, an opportunity occurred and then this grew on me to be a mission I wanted to, like, was this always, a plan for you?
Well, what actually took place was early on in my Navy career. Um, they noticed that, well, not only did I have a certain knack for navigation, because I retired as a Navy quartermaster,
Hmm.
and quartermaster is not like the Army where it's logistics. In the
Hmm.
Navy, it's navigation,
Gotcha.
and I really took to that very quickly. Um, the thing here is my superiors, my chiefs and senior chiefs would say, you have a knack for teaching. I mean, it was just like it was a natural part of my life where I just like if I was to explain something to you,
Hmm.
it would be like, let me break this down in its simplest form because I had to understand it in its simplest form. And once I
Hmm.
understood it, here's something I learned. Every time you were teaching somebody, you actually were learning more yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody will tell you that. Anytime you're doing that, you think your students are learning. No, you're actually learning more. And so over the years, it progressed that way. And, one of the things about being in the job description I was in, I really spent so much time at sea. In fact, my first almost 15 years was at sea. I only spent really 2 years, 3 years teaching at the Fleet Training Center in Norfolk.
Wow. Wow.
So then I went back to sea for a short time and then I retired.
Wow, very interesting, very interesting. Where did because you mentioned, hey, you're opinionated. I always tell, hey, I'm opinionated as well too. It's like, how can you not? I feel like most people are opinionated, but they're just not going to come out and say, hey, I'm an opinionated person. It's everybody has an opinion about
Of
something, whether it's
course, of
the
course.
weather, whether it's traffic, whether if it's I mean, everybody has an opinion. Um, where did I won't say the passion, but where did the idea come about for running for local office? Like, where did that? Because not again, I go back to you mentioned, hey, your wife said you got to get the house, you got your doctorate, you always had a knack for education because you were told as, hey, you have more of a teacher and instructor kind of vibe here. So I feel like this is a great field for you. But where did the mindset come, or where did the passion come for, hey, look, I want to run for local office? Because that's a very risky thing. I mean, hey, look, people always focus on national, but hey, local, that's just as intense too. So what made you want to get involved in politics?
Well, I think what makes it interesting when you're a teacher, you're used to standing up in front of people. And I
Mm,
think that a lot of times people are very opinionated. They have their own
mm,
ideals.
mm.
But one of the things that helps you is as a teacher, you're used to formulating your ideals in your head
Very
to
true.
be able to present.
Hmm.
And second of all, you're usually not afraid about standing up in front of other people. Like,
Hmm.
when I was running for the 93rd, well, we had a little, I'm not going to call it a debate, but a discussion at Norfolk State University
Hmm.
where the other candidates running for the House of Delegates were on stage. Well, if you're not comfortable being in front of people, especially a crowd, I can see why people wouldn't want to do it. And a lot of times people are worried, well, what about the skeletons in your closet? Okay, good luck. Find some. My life has been pretty, well, I'm not going to say boring, but there's nothing, outstanding.
Hmm.
And so it was like, sure, but I believe if you really believe what you believe, can you have enough courage or guts to get up in front of people? I mean, understand people need somebody to stand up. And
Absolutely.
and I will tell you, that's one of the things I learned when running. Now I've been running as a when you're doing school board, it's nonpartisan.
Hmm. Hmm.
But when I was running for House of Delegates or running for Congress, well, no, I was running as a Republican. Well,
Hmm.
look at Norfolk.
Hmm.
Norfolk is predominantly Democrat.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, and think about how much courage it takes to run is the opposite party. That takes even more courage.
You're very absolutely right. Absolutely right.
And here's another factor to consider. It's not a bad thing, but I want people to think about it.
Hmm.
The majority of the people in our community are African American.
Hmm.
And when you run as someone who's white, keep in mind, people don't think you were down for the struggle. You could not relate to who we were.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. I mean, yeah, sure. I was part of a large family of 8. Sure. We were on Section 8 on food stamps. I didn't have dad when I was a teen. I get it. But I didn't go through everything they go to. I mean, but one of the things that made it important, but that didn't stop me from relating to the people
Absolutely.
in the community.
Mhm,
I mean, think
mhm,
about it. Because I didn't have the funds. When I ran, there was no big bucks behind me. I don't care whether it was school board, House of Delegates, or even running as for Congress. Let me tell you a little something to tell you how bad it was for money. Even when I ran for Congress, Bobby spent, according to what's even the pilot reported,
mhm,
$716,000 for his votes,
mhm.
and I only spent, according to the pilot, $1,400.
Wow, racking up the money there, John. Racking
I'm
up the
telling you,
fun.
man, and I still got 90,000 votes for just that short amount of money. But what I was doing was relating to people.
Mhm,
I knocked on thousands and thousands and thousands of doors here in the Hampton Roads community. Folks, when you finally do that and you meet people face to face, did you know they're a lot like you and me? Do you
I say it all
realize
the
that they
time.
have the same hopes and dreams? You know, you're telling me that you're a fiscal conservative. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of people that want that.
Mhm.
I could tell you stories when I was running for the 93rd. I don't know if you've heard about this. Over off of 35th Street, there used to be something called the Black Wall Street. I don't know if you ever heard of
I
it.
do remember. I do remember. I've heard
I
stories about that.
talked to a gentleman, and him and I talked about a lot of things about that. And he's more for the economic side. And I think what he was really frustrated with when he was talking to me
Mhm.
is most of the Democrats now were taking a lot of the P folks for granted.
Mm.
Well, we got your vote. We don't have to work as hard. And they wanted someone to have an alternative. You know, you asked me why I ran. I'll be honest with you. I really was done after school board, but you know, it was like, but John, we need someone to be on the ballot for the 93rd. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why? You know, the odds doesn't matter. We just need someone. You know, there are other people who are not necessarily Democrat,
Mhm. Mhm.
and they want to say, but give us an option. And I
Mhm.
think I found this out when I was running, even for Congress. Folks are beginning to think, I want an alternative. I do not want to be taken for granted. And you're thinking, well, John, that's just for whites. No, let me tell you something. It was a real shift in the political winds, even in the last one, that there were more conservatives in Norfolk. I mean, more people voting conservative in Norfolk than they've done before. In fact, I did better than Hung Cow and Trump. But I think it's because I've already been out in the community. I've already been out knocking on the doors. They already
Mhm.
began to know, well, who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they knew I care about the schools. They knew I care about, you know, what's going on up in Richmond and how they're spending your money. I mean, come on. Go ahead, sir.
You bring on you bring on some great points, John, because I talk a lot about it here on this program. Um, for one, folks look at politicians just currently and maybe and probably even in the past, a lot of unmade promises have been met, right? And so people are tired, voters are very impatient. As far as for I've always I'm a middleman. I've criticized both parties. Recently I've criticized the Democratic Party just in general, all for strategy wise, and I'm like, okay, you have to listen what the people tell you rather
Right.
than what is the overall. And
Listen
then
to the
I
people.
can criticize the right, because I feel as though, like, okay, there are such thing as good as it gets Republicans, right? You have, like, you mentioned it, how if we have conversations, we're probably going to agree on 88% of the things and disagree, but we let that small number overpower, and it's
All the
like
time.
all
All the
the time. And
time.
that's not the truth. That's not the, I mean, we looked at, I'll speak on a national and really even local levels. You've seen a rise in third party voters, right? Because they're
Absolutely.
saying, hey, we live one another alternative. We're kind of tired of the same old back and
Same
forth.
old, same old.
There's so many groups that say, hey, look, I'm this, I'm that, I am I'm a liberal Republican, I'm a conservative. I'm like, you have so many point of views where it's like, okay, why do we have these two separate parties? And you mentioned, hey, you went door knocking, you talk with people face to face, and so that's important things. What attracts voters? Because really, you can't rely on just say your 3 minutes of fame on the local news or a newspaper ad. I mean, if you don't have the funds, look, the main reason why it comes with a lot of donors and money and this and that is because of advertising, y'all. It is a business when it comes to politics, and this is no shade to, because I have a lot of friends that are elected officials that's doing great work. But let's be let's call a spade a spade. Let's be upfront here, because we like to keep it real here. All the money that's involved, I mean, I can just speak for my city. I mean, there was huge money involved just in local elections. I'm like, goodness gracious, you would think the president was running just for Chesapeake, when you look at numbers, right? So that's kind of like how the system, how the game goes when it comes to politics. But I had to throw all that because you mentioned some great points, John, as far as you ran with little money, but you made a big impact. I do see a lot of people that will come up to the plate to say, hey, look, I want to run to, I want to make an impact. I see an issue occurring in our community. Hey, look, my chances might not be as good, but I hope it can impact and hopefully make a change. And maybe, hey, my chances are better, next go round. When you were running, you've mentioned that, okay, for one, you ran against some, unknown people, by the way. I'm just saying, Bobby Scott, good gracious, he's been in office since '93, and I mean and you mentioned, in Norfolk is predominantly left. That's predominantly what it leans. So it's very risky. Well, I won't say risky, but it's a stretch to say, okay, look, I'm going to run as a conservative, as a Republican in this community. But hey, your passion is what, a lot of folks would say, well, I respect his passion because he still made that attempt and ran. Now, my friend, what were some of the and I think you mentioned a little bit, but what were some of the takeaways from running, not even just for the congressional race, but in the past? You said you've run for a delegate as well as school board. What has been some of the things you've learned through that process?
It's interesting to note that even when I was running for school board, I met a good friend. His name was Mark Askew. And Mark, I think people would say he's an independent, and he's pretty well known in the community. I think he has a business, construction. But I will say that him and I, when we were at debates or open forums and things like that, it was so strange because him and I almost thought identical. And remember, Mark lives about in the same area I live in, and he's definitely African American, but him and I built a great friendship over that period. We went through a struggle together of our own, if you really want to be truthful. But recently, the Norfolk School Board just had a opening for the 3rd Ward because Carlos got elected to City Council, which is fine. Congratulations. I think that's a stepping stone for him because I think eventually he'll probably try to go for, I don't think House of Delegate. I really see him going for the Virginia Senate. And
I wanted to pause you real quick. I'm sorry, John, for just to catch our listeners up. Carlos Clanton, y'all, he no stranger to the program. He is a city councilman, newly elected city councilman in the city of Norfolk. But prior to that, he served on the school board in the city of Norfolk. So just wanted to.
Thank you, Arrington. I appreciate that. Well, they just had an opening, and they took resumes. And I thought, man, I've been teaching in this area for years, but it didn't matter. When they had all these people put in their applications, they broke it down to about 6 people they were going to actually interview. And strangely enough, there was Mark and I were not even asked to do the interview, and we were a little surprised because we actually ran against Carlos. We actually were part of the 3rd Ward. We met the voters. And this was what was strange because I think Carlos got about the same amount of votes as Mark, but had I not been on the ballot, Mark would have actually been the school board member for the 3rd Ward. And I was a little concerned. Why wasn't at least Mark? Okay, you don't like me? I get it. All right? I'm a conservative and I'm not African American. I get it. Okay, fine. I can live with it. But by the same time, why didn't you let Mark?
Mm-hmm.
of all the people. So I think that's where we ended up on Rhoda Young's program.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, and I got up in front of the school board when they had that, you have a feedback from the
Mm-hmm.
public.
Mm-hmm.
I only had 3 minutes, but I looked at each one of them, and I know, like, you all ran for your spot. No one gave it to you. You earned it. What in the world were you doing? You really, to me, and I was telling
Mm-hmm.
them, you're working against your voters. You're telling the voters, you're not important. This is a good old boys club. We're going to pick
Mm-hmm.
who we want.
Let's pause on that. We're going to take a quick commercial break, John, because I love where this is going, and you hit a topic that I'm like, hey, look, let's talk about it. But again, those who are tuning in, I am your host, Arrington Gavin. Joining me is Mr. John Sitka III. We're having a great conversation talking about, hey, stuff that happens, in politics, really on a local level, but of course this happens on a larger level as well. But a lot of folks don't imagine this happen on the local level as low as the school board. So look, we're going to continue this conversation. Don't go anywhere. You are tuning into the Arrington Gavin Show. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after this break. All right, my friends, welcome back to the Arrington Gavin Show. I am your host, Arrington Gavin. Joining me is my good buddy, Mr. John Sitka III. John, do I always have to say the third? No, I'm joking. Can I just say John?
Keep this simple. Just say John.
Keep it simple. Awesome. Well, I'm here with my good buddy, John. Again, hey, as I mentioned before, I have friends on all sides of the aisle. This is my conservative friend right here. Well, hold on, there we go. My conservative friend, Mr. John here. Look, we were discussing, John, about, okay, you mentioned there was a special election that occurred in the city of Norfolk school board, and that prior to that, there were, I'm sorry, let me kind of backtrack. There was a special election where it was going to fill in a seat that was previously held by Carlos Clanton, right, who is now a newly elected city councilman. The names that weren't mentioned in that list of was how many was the list of folks? Like, what was the max they can?
Well,
I guess
they were interviewing 6 people.
Okay, 6 people. Out of that 6 people, 2 names wasn't up there. John, who was a former candidate during the previous race, and then also Mr. Mark Askew. You mentioned, John, that came very close to possibly winning that seat. But his name wasn't up there. So we're kind of like, okay, dissecting what is the the reason, and why wouldn't at least Mark's name be up there? So John, I didn't want please continue what you were saying.
No, that's fantastic. And what it is that they arbitrarily picked 6. Who knows why? They could have had 8. They could have 10.
Mm-hmm.
But they chose 6. And I think it was because for the sake of time. But of all the candidates, because regardless of who they picked,
Mm-hmm.
this person might have been as good as candidate as any.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that now come November, if they still have to go out and get their signatures, and they still have to go file their paperwork with the state, their economic paperwork,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're going to have to go out and go meet people and hold meetings or whatever they can do to get the votes of the 3rd ward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And whereas Mark and I already done that, that's like, got the t-shirt, buddy. We done that stuff. Come on. I mean, could I get the signatures again? Could he? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Mark was so distraught about it. He was like, I'm not even bothering. And I was like, man, Mark, I wished you would, because I know you would win. If you had the same, you would get those same votes and plus. And I told him I would help him get the votes if he wanted. But as it turns out, he was so disheartened by it, and I don't blame him.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see sometimes you and I talked about why would anybody get in politics? Because sometimes I had a phone call with a friend of mine And
Mm-hmm.
this person told me, because this person was not only in local politics and state
Mm-hmm.
politics, this
Mm-hmm.
person was also in federal politics.
Wow.
And they told me, says, John, it's a good old boys club. They already know who they're going to pick. It's just a formality. And I said, so
Mm-hmm.
the voters don't matter. John, you're thinking logically. Cut it out. That's not how Norfolk politics works.
Wow. Wow. And I, hey, this is, I think, something that occurs all across the board. I mean, we're speaking, strictly Norfolk, because, it's close to home, but I mean, this is something that does occur on a regular. Now, I would have to ask, like, John, I mean, you, as the gentleman mentioned, like, it's a good old boys club. Was it something that you've probably in the back of your head said, okay, I believe this exists, but I just never, like, actually when it occur, when it hits close to home, it's like, whoa, wow, this, you know what I mean? Like, I feel as though everybody will say, hey, look, there's always going to be some, some undercover or under the table kind of stuff that occurs in politics. So what, were you shocked? I mean, was it just something that you wanted to kind of be prepared? I think what I'm asking is, I know I'm kind of
Sure.
stretching.
No, let me help you with this. Was I naive about it? Absolutely. And I didn't think Norfolk was that bad until that
Mm-hmm.
person had told me on the phone. This is,
Mm-hmm.
I've been part of the, because this person held other positions and and
Mm-hmm.
this person was telling me, no, this is what's going on. Don't be upset. And I
Mm-hmm.
was kind of, what's the word I want to use? Disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I will say this. If Mark almost won in that previous election, I don't want people who think they can run and it's all going to be against them. No, go and give it a shot. First of
Yeah.
all, it's a growing experience. You have an opportunity to meet people that you would never have otherwise met, and
Mm-hmm.
relationships with people. I built a good, working, and loving family relationship with the Lindenwood Civic League.
Mm.
We're like family, and I help them whenever I can. But be honest with you, that's great when you get to have a family of people in the community. I don't even live in Lindenwood. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Those people are an awesome group of folks, and that's what it takes. Sometimes just go out, be a part of your community, and you know what? People know you did. And guess what? That's just one time.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time you run, guess what? You've got so much, you're on a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
All right? It may take you a few times to get it right, but go do it. Don't be afraid.
I love you use that term, learning curve. That's something kind of sidebar. So growing up, in school, I had a learning, they call it disability, but my mom always said, sir, you have a learning curve. Do not use this, because you're an educator. He said, hey, you're just as smart as all your equal, your equals in your class, because really everybody has a different way of learning. So
That's
when
right.
you use that term, I'm like, hey, look, that's my mother used that term all the time. Learning curve. So just had to throw that out there.
No, I love it. You would probably say the same thing about me. I think I barely got out of high school. My grades in high school were so horrendous.
Hey, you and me both. You know what? I've always said I might have wasn't the best book smart wise, but common sense was my scholar level right there. And I've always
There
say,
you
hey,
go.
without common sense, it's hard to navigate in society. But going back to Mark. So we're going back to the Rhoda Young interview, right? So I was a viewer watching that interview. Now, for those who are unfamiliar who Rhoda Young is a very popular local independent reporter, journalist, investigator. She's went viral many a times. She's very brash. She's very in your face. She doesn't hold back, very unfiltered. Never had the chance to meet her. I hope to sometime. And there's just like everybody else. Hey, there's points where I agree with her. There's points I don't agree, but I will say, hey, she's consistent. She works hard at what she does. She makes sure she gets the story before the local news, which I always like to laugh about, because I'm like, hey, how does this one person get a story before a whole network? It always gets me. But that was a great interview. I can't remember. I know it was more than 2 hours possibly, but really it was impacting. It was impacting what you had said, the disconnect, the dishonesty amongst, okay, your elected officials and the community. And that's the whole issue. I feel as though that we're seeing now is just, okay, you fight for folks to come out and vote. Okay, give them a reason to, right? Give them something in return. If they don't see it in return, they're gonna, not pay it any mind. I had the first opportunity to door knock for a candidate out in Chesapeake. It was a one and done thing for me. It was a bucket list thing to experience. And I think we hit about 100 homes. I met about 6 angry dogs, so I don't think they were, fond of me, but that's okay. But some of the conversations I had with young people was, hey, look, this is just some information about this candidate. You have the option to read about them if you want to vote. If you already have your candidate already in place, hey, you can toss it. Don't worry about it. But here's some information. And they were saying, like one gentleman told me, I just don't get into politics. I really just don't vote. And I'm like, are you a taxpayer? Okay, you're a resident, you're employed. I mean, it's little things that I always say people try to run away from it, but I mean, it's a part of your everyday life. It's a part of everyday life. But it's unfortunate that we do encounter moments where, like you said, hey, they have the option to at least give market opportunity. And regardless, I mean, hey, look, regardless of what you think of this gentleman or this candidate politically, it's all about equal opportunity. I'm a big advocate of equal opportunity. Give the person the opportunity, and then go on from there. Now I know they've already added on a new member to fill in that seat. Do you know if Mark will be, or I won't? Do you know if he's interested, or would you be willing to work with him as far as like maybe running for the next? Because there will be another. I think will there be an election happening this year or next year?
It's this year.
This year, okay.
It'll be a special election.
Okay.
And I had a discussion with Mark, and Mark felt like, why bother at this point? And at least that's my impression.
I got you.
He didn't want to do it anymore. And I said, I did make it clear, if you do, we'll do whatever we can to help you win. I mean, this time I won't be on the ballot. But to be honest with you, I told him I'll do whatever is within my ability and power to help you, because I feel like he got cheated. Okay, if you really want to get down to it, and I will tell you, we were talking about meeting people and knocking on doors and some of the dogs. Here's the biggest part. What usually broke my heart with people you encountered, such as, well, why do I want to get involved in politics? Why bother? It's not something and I'm sort of like, yeah, but you plan on retiring someday, right? You're not retired already? Do you care about your Social Security, your Medicare? Do you care about property taxes? Do you care about who's on your police force and who's going to make sure, if someone breaks the law? I mean, do you care about rape, murder, fentanyl? Do you care about these things? Because not being involved, you're telling that you're going to let other people vote for you. Oh, there'll be people who vote. But just because you chose not to, that means some other people are going to run parts of your life for you.
Absolutely. I always tell folks, hey, look, if you don't vote, guess what? That's still a vote for somebody. You're still helping with the process.
That's exactly right. By not voting, you voted, whether you thought about it or not. You did vote.
Absolutely.
Sad, but people don't get it.
It really is. John, I know we're having close to 10 minutes left until this conversation. Look, I want to get your take just on the city of Norfolk, right? Let's talk some of their pros and cons. I'll start with the pros first. So recently, we've seen the addition to, you have the cruise lines coming now in Norfolk, where most folks will say, well, look, especially being on the East Coast, we got to go to Florida all the time. Well, no need to do that. You can now stay local and go around the world in a cruise from your backyard. Also, we've seen the expansion, well, not expansion, but the project of they're bringing a casino to now. I know a lot of people are iffy about casinos, but hey, I always say, hey, anything that looks more like it's a uplifter, I'm like, okay, I think it's gonna pay off pretty good. Let's see. Okay, another one as far as in the athletic field. So Norfolk has 2 well, I'm sorry, 3 universities if you include TCC. Well, let me take it back. Is Wesleyan a part in Norfolk, or is that?
Yeah, there
is
is. It's kind of right there at Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. If you go down there by, what is that, Northampton?
Northampton Boulevard. Yep. So you really have like technically 4 colleges, but recently Norfolk State just welcomed an all-pro quarterback, a really iconic
I
quarterback
think
in
that's
Michael Vick.
awesome.
I think it's really, really exciting. It's funny. I will say I think for the first time someone tried to cancel me because of my business. We've partnered with NSU for quite some time, and the person was, obviously not a fan of Vic, with past conflicts of what occurred with that involved animal cruelty. But that was something that happened. I always say
That's in the
that was
past. It's
that
all
was in the
paid
past.
for.
He's grown up from that, and
That's right.
so I think with that being said, I think that's going to really help the city revenue wise. Of course, going to help out the university, but we've started to see a pattern of former pro football players, high profile figures entering into the the collegiate level, small Division I. We see Deshaun Jackson at Delaware State now leading there. So it's you're seeing a lot of great stuff happening in Norfolk. What are some things, John, that you've seen that is great? Hey, Norfolk is winning in this aspect. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I hope we keep this momentum going.
Well, I do like one thing, I'll be the kind of a critic of school board, but by the same time, they're going back to the schools and actually doing some maintenance and repairs that these schools have long needed.
Yes.
Yeah, the population of Norfolk is on a downturn. All right. But that means they're going to have to consolidate a few of these schools. Well, that's fine, because now we can do something. If we have a school building that's in dire need of repair, can we consolidate it, or can we sit there and actually rebuild it? But I do see a plan. They have a multi-year plan to go back through these schools and do maintenance and repair. And I think that's great, because I hate to send I got grandkids in the Norfolk public school system. So yeah, I don't want them to go down to an old building that's falling apart.
It's funny you brought that up, because I was just reading a story about, I believe, Maury High School, built in 1911.
Yes.
And I'm like, holy like 1911, y'all, were y'all gonna wait until maybe 1930 to renovate? Like, where does this? So it's definitely in dire need, but of some renovation. So I'm excited to see that they going back to the schools, taking care of the students there, and seeing some some regrowth with that. Now let's talk about some issues. What are some of the cons that have been happening? Being a native or being a resident of Norfolk and being so involved with the community. What do you see, John, that this is where we need to work on Norfolk? Where's the
I know you're running close on your time, but I will do the best I can. So to give you an idea, when knocking on doors for the 93rd, because the 93rd is much larger than the 3rd Ward. And the thing here is, you get to talk to people, and they're concerned about the Norfolk economy. One of the things you hear at all the civic leagues, well, there's all this flooding. Why aren't we doing something about the storm drains and the storm water? Here's another thing, the property taxes. What are you doing with this money? We just got MacArthur Mall.
Yeah.
We got Military Circle. They want to put a train up through
all these projects. Sometimes there's projects that are not even completed yet. We're moving on to the next. Oh, trust me, I'm one of the ones that complain outside of the city, because I'm just like saying, I don't get it. And like, obviously as a resident, I know you're frustrated, because you're like, say, okay, where is this taxpayer money going to? Really, like, where are you doing my money?
And I hope all citizens do that. I hope they always, from not just me saying it, but always hold your elected officials accountable.
Oh, absolutely.
And remember, there are city people that are there in power, and they weren't elected, but that doesn't stop them from being held accountable. And they should be. Everybody. I mean, if you have responsibility for our community and you have responsibility with our tax dollars, sorry, you're on the, you have to be watched. Everybody does. But when you see this, I heard even Janif Mall was looking at being purchased by the city. So that's a rumor. I'm not going to say, because I don't know. But, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
What are you going to show us a plan for Military Circle? Show us a plan for MacArthur Mall. How is this going to enrich the city? What are you going to do? How's this all going to work? Because where I live at, And you know where Sewell's Point, Norview is. Well, down there at Norview and Military, they have a whole section there that used to be an old Kmart.
Oh,
Now it's been there almost abandoned for.
oh, over is that near the is that around the Ward's Corner
Oh, there's
area?
another place. That's the
Because
other
that
one.
used to be that used to be a Kmart hidden back there. I
Well,
think
back
years
there,
back.
and then they have Kroger, and then
Okay.
and now all that's torn down. Now
Wow.
they say they're going to put a Target there, but the last time I drove through there it was pretty blank. And then you got
Yeah,
the farm,
and
the old
that's
farm Go ahead.
and that's the thing. I mean, like I've mentioned, prior. Hey, I have close friends that are elected officials. I keep them, their foot. One of my dear friends who I helped, I would say help back him for his election. I'm keeping his foot to the fire because I'm just saying,
Good for you.
look, I'm a resident. Like, I mean, come on, don't play kind of like, okay, I'm a rookie at this. Give me some time. I get it. Everything is a patience thing. So I always say, okay, look, give it a little time, but you've prepared for it for so long. You should have some form of like, okay, boom. You just got to come in there as a pro. You got to come in there as a veteran. Like this is not new territory for you.
That's
But
right.
I do hope that residents do keep accountable to their local elected officials, because Norfolk really is one of the small big cities in the area, really in the state of Virginia, because there's so much great history that comes out of Norfolk.
History,
There's
exactly
so
right.
much great history. You have multiple entertainment and venues out there. You have two semi-professional sports leagues, sports teams. You got with the Tides. There's so much great stuff with the city of Norfolk that it's like, okay, look, what are we doing here, people? What are we doing here? The malls is another story. I know we can definitely talk longer, John, and I don't want to keep you up, but look, I definitely want to chop it up with you for just a couple minutes after this program. But before I let you go, man, if I know you're involved with the local communities here. Is there ways residents can maybe get in touch with you, because you're very involved with a lot of great a lot of stuff in the community. If they have any any questions, I don't know. I mean, any ways people can continue to follow up with you, if that's okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do have an email if they have any questions at jsitka@liberty.edu.
Okay.
I did my master's and doctorate at Liberty.
Liberty
My
University.
master's,
Yep.
yeah, sure. I did my professional mental health at professional counseling at Liberty. So when I did
Awesome.
my master's, but regardless, I think I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, and I will tell everybody, for full disclosure, I'm also the chairman of the Norfolk Republican Party, so I'm always the easiest person to get a hold
You
of.
are. Oh my gosh! Now you tell me. I'm joking.
No, just full disclosure.
All this time.
No, anytime you want me on your program, I'm always willing.
You have an open invitation, my friend. I've truly enjoyed this conversation. Like I said, I want to chop it up with you just a couple of minutes. So y'all give it up for our good friend, Mr. John Sitka, friend of the show, now official friend of the show. So he's always welcome. John, thank you so much for your time. Don't go anywhere. I definitely want to chop it up with you for a little. But again, I want to thank our guest, John. Look, great conversations. I hope you guys learn from it. Look, this stuff occurs on a local level. We see it, in front of our eyes on a federal level. But look, there's stuff that there's shady stuff that occurs on a local level too. But it's not always the case. You do have a lot of great individuals that are, your elected officials that mean well, that are here to serve the people and not to serve themselves. That's the big thing people need to realize. Politics is about service, and it should always be about service of the people, not service of themselves. So my friends, look, as always, I hope you enjoyed a great conversation here on the Arrington Gavin Show. Be sure to tune in Monday through Fridays. Okay, Monday through Fridays, available on all digital and streaming platforms. Our YouTube channel is the Arrington Gavin Show. You can also follow us or check us out on Rumble, wherever you get your podcasts as well. And please do me a favor, download GOAT Verse TV app today. Okay, GOAT Verse TV app. It's free. Take care, my friends. God bless. I will see you next time. We are out.